Man, oh man, is there a lot to talk about Canelo Alvarez right now in the sport of boxing? I haven't talked about boxing in a while. Why haven't I talked about boxing in a while? Because it's been very, very boring. As you can see by the title, you can see that Canelo Alvarez is now fighting William Skull, which honestly, I don't even know who William Skull is. I had to look him up. And I realized it was kind of a tune-up fight, but we'll get into that later. I guess he was talking to Jake Paul for a while about, fighting together in America, and I guess they signed a deal evidently, but that's not what fans want to see. Like, we don't want to see him fight a novice YouTuber. I mean, Jake Paul in reality shouldn't even be a pro fighter. He shouldn't even be allowed in the ring, but he is. And if you actually look at his clauses, if you look at his paperwork when it comes to the deals that he's having other fighters sign, there's a lot of sketchy stuff in the clauses. There's a lot of sketchy stuff in the paperwork. And that's why people don't really take him seriously. And I don't know if they'll ever take him seriously. If there was like a real fight, Canelo versus Jake Paul, say there was. I mean, I really think, and I wanted to talk about Canelo versus Terrence Crawford. That's what I want to talk about. That's what I want to see. You know what I mean? Two of the top fighters. Yeah, they're not in the same weight division, but they could have like a catch weight, and that's what I want to talk about. And that's what I'll talk about in probably my next video. But to get back on topic with Jake Paul, if there was a real fight, real boxing match against Canelo versus Jake Paul, we know the real outcome. There can't be no special clauses. There can't be no special, like, Jake Paul can't act like he's the A fighter. He can't. He's never got a $380 million deal by DAZN. Like, he hasn't reached the pinnacle peak of Canelo even to tie Canelo's shoes in the sport of boxing. I mean, let's be real about the situation. We already know the outcome. Canelo will completely outclass him and then destroy him. I mean, because if you think about Jake Paul, like, yeah, Jake Paul's bigger. Jake Paul would be kind of like fighting Bivol, right? Bivol, like, and I'm saying that in a size to size meaning, not skill to skill. Like, Jake Paul could use his weight, could use his power to, like, push him around, to hold him, to grapple him. He could outmuscle him, but that's it. But skill versus skill in an actual boxing match, Canelo will just completely outclass him. You're taking the top number one fighter in the world right now, on paper. Him and Terrence Crawford are, I would put, in at the top right now. Canelo's coming out of probably age here soon. It's going to be soon. It'll probably be mid-30s, I would say, when he starts to decline. And I know he's coming up on that, but Canelo will just destroy him. I mean, let's be real about this. Like, Bivol couldn't even knock him down, and he weighed so much more than Canelo. Like, let's be real about this. Like, Canelo's chin is tested. He has taken many hits on the chin, and he doesn't go down. Jake Paul is not going to hurt Canelo, even if he got lucky. Even if he got a lucky punch in, let's say, it's just not going to happen. So this whole talk between him and Jake Paul it's not what fans want to see. Now, let's talk about the Canelo versus the William Skull fight that's coming up. Okay? Let's talk about that, because that's what we really need to talk about, because that's what's coming up. Okay? That's what's really coming up. All right. Now, looking up William, bro, like, I knew nothing about him. Never even seen one of his fights. Most of his fights were in Germany. And he's a Cuban fighter. I mean, you got to take Cuban fighters seriously. You really do. They're very skilled fighters. They're usually, they use the whole ring. They have good footwork usually. They move around a lot. I mean, if you think about when Canelo fought Lara, I mean, that was such a close fight. And technically, you could say Lara won because Lara, was on his bicycle all night. 23 wins, 0 losses, but only 9 knockouts. I mean, he's not gonna hurt Canelo. He looks like he's a point scorer boxer, right? So he's going to use his legs. He does fight in the super middleweight division, so he is a little bigger. His knockout percentage is 39.13. He's done 144 rounds, 23 bouts. His career is 2016 to today. 32 years old, 5'11 and a half, so taller than Canelo and orthodox. But yeah, I mean, he's fought mostly Germany. He's probably a skilled fighter. He probably uses his feet a lot. I haven't watched any of his fights. I don't know much about him, but that would be my guess. He's a Cuban fighter. They're usually really skilled. They're usually pretty decent. His rating's up there. But to me, I still think this is a tune-up fight for Canelo. But you don't know, because like it's anyone's chance. When they get in the ring with Canelo, it's anyone's chance. I mean, yeah, the lights are going to be on. It's going to be in Saudi Arabia, evidently. It's going to be on DAZN because the contract with DAZN. The big stage, the big lights might get to him, but he still has a puncher's chance, right? I don't see him knocking him out, but he might be able to be on his bicycle and run around and make. You just never know. You just never know. You got to take every fighter seriously, which I don't see Canelo taking this guy seriously. I see him using this as a tune-up fight because he probably thinks this guy is a lot like Terrence Crawford, or maybe they see similarities and that's why they're using this guy. Who knows? Who knows? You just don't know what the overall plan is. There's a plan there, though. You got to know that there's a plan there. And to continue the article, it says it's on May 3rd, so Cinco de Mayo. It's evidently in Saudi Arabia, which is going totally against Cinco de Mayo. Cinco de Mayo should be in America because that's where Cinco de Mayo is actually celebrated. It's not even celebrated in Mexico. It's celebrated in America. They reported Friday that Alvarez was initially finalizing a deal to clash with Jake Paul on May 3rd, but he changed his mind to completed a 4-fight deal with the season instead. I'm guessing that's some type of a Saudi Arabia season. I don't know. I don't know much about that. They noted the bout involving Alvarez and Paul was a formal announcement before the change. The Most Valuable Promotions, Paul's company, released a statement criticizing the decision. I have that statement. I guess I'll post it, but I'd rather not. It's funny, but it's stupid. MVP operates with integrity, transparency, and respect for the sport. It is its athletes and the fans, the promotion said. Unfortunately, not everyone in the boxing world shares those values. There's 2 little jabs at Canelo and Canelo's promotion team. Cool. Now let's move on.
Oh, Canelo, you puta.
And this fucking YouTuber. I just fight real fighters.
Time to expose them. So we had a signed contract to fight. Here you can see Canelo's signature and my signature to the right. Claiming he's not fighting YouTubers. Bullshit. Look at the poster. We were announcing Tuesday, February 11th. Claiming he fights real fighters, but he's fighting Crawford, a 135-pound fighter, and running from a real fighter like David Benavidez, you bitch. The truth is you can be bought. You're a money-hungry squirrel chasing your next nut. The truth is these sports-washing shady characters are paying you hundreds of millions of dollars to stop our fight from happening because they couldn't fathom the fact that they can't create a bigger fight than me and you. Al Heyman has made you hundreds of millions of dollars and you turned your back on him for this check. Disloyal. And you were begging to do this fight on pay-per-view. But I have loyalty. Loyalty to Netflix, doing the biggest numbers. And you call me a YouTuber, but you've never had a boxing match as big as mine. Remember you told my team that your daughter came home and asked if you were fighting Jake Paul? She was all excited. You said that was the first time your daughter's ever asked you about a fight. And you're screwing over all your Mexican fans by doing your fights in Saudi. It just shows what type of person you are. And I promise you one thing, Canelo. Any fight that you do this year, mine will be bigger. So go fuck off to your boss, you Ring Magazine employee, you pink and orange bitch. And oh, fix that herpes on your lip, you dirty puta.
Alright, this was Jake Paul's only real fight, which is against Tommy Fury. And it sold over 500K pay-per-view buys. And that was his only real fight, in my opinion. And this is on pay-per-view. So let's talk about that. Okay, let's see that first. Then you look at Canelo's pay-per-view buys. I mean, yeah, there's been a couple that are in the 300,000s, but look at his other numbers. I mean, Chavez Jr. was $1 million. Gennady Golovkin 1 was 1.3. Gennady Golovkin 2 was 1.1. Caleb Plant was 800,000. Bevo was 520,000, 550,000 with Golovkin 3. Charlo was 700,000, and then 500,000, then 650,000. So I mean, and even the Floyd Mayweather fight, of course, was 2.2 million. So that doesn't really make much sense. Amir Khan was 600,000, and then Cotto was 900,000. It's crazy. Pretty good numbers. Actually, really good numbers. Really, if you think about pay-per-view buys. But this is what Jake Paul's talking about. Netflix and Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson, because it was on Netflix, because it was for Netflix subscribers, which is what, $20 a month. Because of Mike Tyson's name, there was 108 million live viewers. The fight skipped. The fight was terrible. It was blown out of proportion. It was sad. It was disgusting. It was boring. It was the worst thing I've ever witnessed, and I wouldn't have watched it unless it was pretty much free, because I already had Netflix, and pretty much everyone has Netflix, or I would have never watched it. So I don't think this is comparable to pay-per-view buys, because you're talking $20 a month versus what is pay-per-view buys now? It's like $79 for just one boxing match. I mean, that's crazy. Like, this isn't comparable. But if you want to compare that, I guess. And then Canelo's TV viewership, you have 1.4, 1.6, 1.5, 1.04, and 2.146 when he fought James Kirkland. These are in the millions, obviously. 1.4 million, 1.6 million, 1.5 million. I mean, obviously, none of these are 180 million or 108 million, whatever it was. But really, if you really think about these, this was all real fights. I mean, I'm not like a Jake Paul hater, but like, he's not a real boxer. He brings a lot of people to the sport, and I'll give him credit for that. He brings a lot of like YouTubers and like different types of people to the sport, but he's not a real boxer. So you can call me a Jake Paul hater all you want in my comments. I don't care. I'll actually love that shit. But he's just not a real boxer. He's only fought one real boxer, and Tommy Fury isn't really, I mean, he's not even in the top 100. So, and he didn't win. So it is what it is, okay? It is what it is. But I guess that's what he was referring to in his little what was that? Oh, that was Twitter X video. Now to finalize this is the last bit of that story. The upcoming fight against Skull, super middleweight champion, 23-0 record with 9 knockouts. His last fight was a victory over Vladimir. Don't want to butcher his last name. It was a 12-round bout in October 2024, claiming the IBF super middleweight title. That's probably one of the reasons why he's fighting him, because he's got the title. Alvarez, he won 5 consecutive fights to improve his record to 62-2-2 with 39 knockouts. His last victory was against Edgar Berlanga in September 2024 to retain his WBC, WBA, and WBO super middleweight titles. The fight between Alvarez and Skull wasn't confirmed until Saturday, which was yesterday. Reportedly been brewing for a while. Ring Magazine Jake Donovan revealed on January 2nd that Canelo's team had contacted Skull's team regarding a possible fight. After the fight between Alvarez and Paul didn't materialize, Canelo is now preparing his battle with Skull in Saudi Arabia for a chance to regain the undisputed champion status. Okay, well, that's the end of that. So you got the story, you got the drama, and now you know what's going on between Canelo. He's fighting May 3rd, Cinco de Mayo against Skull. Jake Paul is no longer in talks with him anymore, which is good, because I just think that I don't want to see Jake Paul. I don't want to see Jake Paul fight anybody but his skill level. He needs to go to the top of the 100 chart of boxing in his actual weight class and start there and work his way down. He doesn't get to just start at the pinnacle, start at the top, and fight the top fighters for the most amount of money. He fought Mike Tyson, which was disgusting, which was boring, which was sad, and which was cringe, and And yeah, I mean, everyone was pissed off about that fight. I can't imagine anyone being like, "Oh, that was so cool." It wasn't cool. It was disgusting. It was cringe. It was sad. It was completely sad that he was fighting this old man. But anyway, let's move on from that. Thank you for watching. Let's Talk Boxing, Parent Coaching. Please subscribe. God bless. Take care.